This is the story of a guy who fought a battle for survival in the world's largest and most ruthless ocean, the Pacific, for over 400 days. He set a world record and came back alive after 14 months. But right when he got back, something happened that landed him in jail. Want to know the whole story? This happened back in 2012 when he was a 36-year-old experienced fisherman living in a small village called Costa Azul in Mexico. On November 17, 2012, Josh and a buddy went out fishing like they always did on their little 7-foot boat. They couldn't go too far because the boat was small, with just one engine and a single cooler, so they could only catch a few fish. Both of them decided to head back after 30 hours. They set off from the shore of Mexico, about 120 kilometers away, and were laying out their net in the sea when suddenly a dangerous marine storm appeared on the horizon. To save time, they left the net behind and took off in the boat at full speed. For 6 straight hours, they were only 20 kilometers from the shore when suddenly the boat's engine broke down. They could see the shore and their village in the distance, and the storm was far behind them. They had a radio through which they sent their location to their boss and started waiting for a reply. Their luck was so bad that even the radio's battery died. On one side, they were looking at the shore, and on the other, a storm was approaching with such intensity that it felt like it would swallow them alive. The winds were so strong that their boat started drifting away from the shore. Before long, the shore disappeared from view, and the crashing waves began pulling them further away. By the time the message reached their distanced was too late. He sent a search party to find them, but with every passing moment, hope was fading. The boat was getting farther and farther away because of the storm. These people couldn't see or understand anything about where they were or which way the shore was. What's surprising is that in just 5 days, their boat had drifted 450 kilometers from the shore. Since it was a small boat, it was even harder to find them. They didn't have a flare gun or anything to start a fire to signal for help with smoke. Looking at each other, they both thought that maybe survival was going to be tough now. They had run out of food 2 days ago. They didn't have any fishing gear left since they had already left their nets behind. Both of them were in really bad shape from hunger when suddenly a bird lands on their boat. They look at each other and immediately try to catch the bird, but they fail. They knew the bird might come back, and sure enough, another bird shows up a little later. This time they come up with a clever plan to catch it, and finally they succeed. That's how they manage to satisfy their hunger with the birds that come to their boat. To survive, they had to drink salty seawater, which could kill a person. So they started storing rainwater in plastic bottles to stay alive. But when it didn't rain, they had to quench their thirst by drinking the blood of fish and turtles, but only if they managed to catch them. Days turned into weeks, and then months. The mental torture they were going through is hard for us to even imagine. In the end, Joe's companion couldn't take it anymore, and after 4 months, he will suicide. And now he was all alone on the boat, surrounded by nothing but water. Looking around, he felt like there was no hope left in life. But fed up with his circumstances, he started to just get by. According to the maps, he was somewhere in this part of the Pacific Ocean, which is known as the quietest part of the world since only cargo ships pass through here. It had been over 6 months since he left the shores of Mexico, and during that time, he had lost his companion too. Josh had been super frustrated for a while when one day he spotted a cargo ship out in the ocean. It was the first ship he had seen in the last 6 months, and as soon as he saw it, a glimmer of hope came back to him. He tried everything to signal the cargo ship, but unfortunately, it was too far away for them to see him. Before he knew it, the ship started to disappear from his view, and he began to think maybe his fate was just to die out there. Just imagine being stuck in a place for 6 months where you can't even see another person. Imagine not seeing anyone for ages, and then finally spotting someone, but they don't notice you and just walk past. How would that feel? After 11 months, John had traveled 8,000 kilometers on his little boat. His clothes were all torn, and he had only one undershirt left to protect himself from the sun. Finally, the moment came when luck smiled upon him. On January 30th, 2014, after 439 days, he saw coconuts floating around him and some birds circling nearby. Looking at that, he realized there had to be an island close by, and then he spotted one in the distance. It took him about half a day to reach that island, As soon as the boat got close, he jumped off and started swimming towards it. Finally, after months of waiting, he made it to solid ground. This island is called Iban Toni, and it's the smallest island in the world. It was like a miracle that the wind shifted just right, guiding his boat straight to that little island. It felt like a blessing, like he had been given a second chance at life after escaping death. After checking out the area a bit, he spotted a house. A little while later, a person came out of that house. After spending about 14 months at sea, this was the first living person he had seen, and it brought tears to his eyes. That was his story. Just a little while after he found out, the local police showed up. Josh told them all about his crazy journey, but no one believed him. I mean, how could someone survive for 438 days in a tiny boat without food, especially when there was a dead body on board? To prove his story, he called his boss, who used to send him fishing. His boss confirmed that, yeah, Josh worked for him, and that he went missing at sea a year ago. Now, since he had made it to another country without a visa, things got even more complicated. After a few days of legal proceedings, he was sent back to Mexico. But the journey wasn't over yet. His friends, whose family had passed away halfway through, sued him, claiming that Josh must have killed his friend. After some legal back and forth, Josh was released. A few days later, he published a book called 438 Days, where he wrote down his whole story. In trying to save his own life, he unknowingly set a world record that no one has the guts to break. Josh's story inspires us to believe that no matter how tough life gets, there's always a solution to every problem. Thanks for watching till the end of the video.